You also have come out for pardoning all nonviolent drug offenders. Here you're at the National Action Network this week.
I would pardon everyone who's in jail for a nonviolent drug-related offense. I would pardon them all on April 20th, 2021, and I would high-five them on the way out of jail.
That include cocaine dealers, opioid dealers?
Well, one of the things we have to do is we have to confront the opioid epidemic, the plague in our country. 8 Americans are dying of drug overdoses every hour, so I would decriminalize opioids. But in that particular segment, I was referring to marijuana-related drug offenses specifically.
So only marijuana, not all nonviolent drug offenders?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, let's move to opioids. Here's a multi-part question we received from a listener. How are you going to address our addiction problem that's killing people every day? Are we finally ready to hold the pharmaceutical companies liable? How are you going to handle all the kids growing up with parents either dead, in jail, or actively using, and the grandparents being their main caregiver? How do you deal with all those things?
This makes me so angry because the opiate crisis is a disease of capitalism run amok. Purdue Pharma made tens of billions of dollars off of OxyContin, and then they paid a 2% fine. And meanwhile, families and communities have been destroyed around the country. That's blood money. We need to get that money back, put it towards helping make our people well. But we have to acknowledge, too, that this is not solely a money problem. This is a human problem. If you put money to work, it lowers one of the barriers, but we know people will be struggling with addiction for years, and many people will not recover. So if the government screwed up on such an epic level that we allowed this plague to take place among our people, then it's up to us to try and help people recover the right ways. So number one, claw back all the ill-gotten blood money from the drug companies and put it to work in communities so that if you need treatment, you can access it. But number two, we should follow the example of other countries who've had these drug abuse and overdose epidemics and decriminalize opiates for personal use. So if you get caught with the drugs, we take the drugs, and then we refer you to treatment or counseling and not to a prison cell. This would help people actually get the help that they need and not fear that their lives are going to be destroyed if they're caught with the drugs. If you're dealing, you go to jail. But if you're an addict, we get you help. And when other countries have done this, this has lowered overdose rates and abuse rates in those countries very, very quickly. We can do the same thing here. We have to say, look, this is not a personal failing. This was a structural, systemic failing. And it's not your fault that you're struggling with addiction. We have to be able to help you.
So what would be the threshold for the amount of opioids that would be legal?
Well, there are clearly defined thresholds where you enter into a drug trafficking statute. So anything below a level where you're in a dealing and trafficking statute, and it's for a personal use.
And so this would not include cocaine, though? This would just be opioids, or would this also include cocaine?
This would be opioids only.